everybody, I'm Eric Griggs, president of GAS Bowstrings, and I'm here today with Jesse Broadwater. Jesse had an opportunity to come by and visit our shop today, day before the London ASA tournament. So we've been working on a project here for several months now. Many of you guys have been able to experience just the awesome set of strings and the Freakshow strings, something that we collaborated with Jesse on, and got a chance to get him in here today and talk a little bit more about what makes these things special, what makes them unique. Some of the differences in the Freakshow strings from some of the other strings you might see. So got an awesome chance to talk to Jesse today. So appreciate you coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Eric.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, it's been quite eye-opening. Like we talked. I've made strings for years and years, and I've always shot my own strings. So when you reached out to me when I switched back to Hoyt this year, I was kind of hesitant because the string's a very important part of the bow, and I have to have total confidence in it. So I was a little hesitant, but the more we talked and stuff, I think I got a lot more sense of confident feeling about how you was doing things and the processes you use and everything. But after coming here today and actually seeing with my own two eyes, what all you guys do to make a good bowstring. There's probably 1,000 different ways to make a bowstring, but there's certain things you have to do and orders you do them in, and ways that you do them, that if you want to make a quality string, so seeing what went on there in the shop was pretty impressive. I mean, things that I had never done before, never seen done before, so it was quite eye-opening. It just gives me a sense of confidence for myself and my own strings, but not only that, but we're selling the Freakshow line of strings to thousands of customers out there, and I don't want my name on something that's not going to be quality for everyone else. I mean, there's certain companies out there that they'll make if they got a pro staff on board, they'll put a little extra special care into their strings or whatever, and that's okay. But if you're going to be selling them to the public, I mean, it should be the same across the board. And what I saw out there was nothing but consistency, and so it was pretty impressive.
And we'd collaborated. We'd spent between emails and texts and phone calls and everything else. Before we kick-started this project, we spent numerous hours and hours, kind of going back and forth, and we'd sent you some stuff, and you're like, hey, well, let's try this, let's do that. So there's a lot of collaboration to get a process that we were both happy with from our perspective, and knew that it would work with how we manufacture our strings, but also that brought all of the elements that were really important to you in string building and things that you had done in your 20 plus years of building strings.
Sure.
So that's really the culmination of all that. And like I said, having you here today, a chance to kind of have you see the fruits of the labor of all the work that you had put into this project as well, everything going and seeing, how smoothly that's all going. It's got to be, I know it's rewarding for me, and I'm sure it is for you as well.
For sure. These strings they're a little different than, a lot of the other strings out there. And, of course, you guys make all different strings. I mean, but the Freakshow line is, I wanted a specific kind of material. That's just what I've built them out of in the years past, and what I've found to be the most stable. And it's a, low wax 452X BCY material. Starting with that foundation is very important. There's ways you can go wrong from there in the building and manufacturing process to mess up a good string, even if you start with good materials. But if you start with that, you got something good to build off of. So it's pretty impressive, like your layup procedure and everything out there, and just your workers out there too was, you hold everyone accountable for their work, and that way if there's a problem that comes back around, you can kind of show them maybe and teach them maybe why things didn't go the way they should have. And so that was pretty cool too, just to see the way that you manage the operational side of things. That's pretty cool to see too. You don't just have people in there just carelessly whipping up strings, and if it comes out wrong, oh well. They actually take pride in their work, and I could see that out there today. I mean, with everyone that was there, I mean, they're very focused and measuring everything and measuring the diameters and putting it on the machine at the end to check out all the specs of the diameters and length and everything. So it was pretty cool. I mean, after seeing that, the way I used to make strings kind of looks like a crude process, but kind of want to go over what goes into the Freakshow strings and what kind of makes them different. So we start with a ultra low wax 452X material from BCY. And the reason why I've always liked to use low wax is just because I feel like the stretch and the elongation that you get out of the string, a lot of it comes from the extra wax that's in the material. And if you take that out from the start, it's a lot less you have to do manufacturing wise and a lot less time to get the wax out of it and to make a tighter bundle and everything. So there's certain reasons why we use that material. It's like I was asking some of your workers out there, how is it to work with the low wax compared to regular material and stuff like that. And there's definitely a difference there.
I think it's when you start dealing with low wax, it's really, you're dealing with the true fiber. You're not dealing with the fiber itself. There's not a lot that can be necessarily inconsistent in the manufacturing of the actual fiber strands. When you start dealing with wax content, the wax is something that can be a lot heavier or lighter or whatever, so you can have different wax contents. When you start dealing with dyes, some of your diameter differences that you see and some of your inconsistencies, those seem to be a lot more prevalent when you start dealing with that. So, I can tell you this much, that when we run 28 strands of this stuff today, we know that it's going to come in at a certain diameter, all measured, and we run this 6 months from now or a year from now, we run the same 28 strands, everything's going to be exactly the same again.
Yeah, it was all about ultimate stability. And I get people asking me, can I get the Freakshow line in colors? And I mean, you guys make all different colors. I mean, you still make other lines of strings too, but I've been very happy with them. I mean, like I said, I'm a pretty particular person when it comes to strings because, I mean, that's what holds everything together. I mean, especially on bows today with the cam system and stuff, like the timing is crucial. I mean, if you have a cable stretch a little bit and a cam comes out of time, like you're going to feel it, your shot's going to start deteriorating, you're going to see it in your pin movement. You could have the best bow in the world, best stabilizers, best sight, best everything, but if you don't have the strings to tie it all together and to keep it consistent, if you got stuff moving, it's never going to work good for you. So I do this for a living, so like I can't afford to have my cable stretch or whatever during Vegas or a 3D shoot or whatever. Get out there in the heat and the sun's beating down on your bow, maybe forget and leave it in your your trunk of your car or whatever. These strings are not going to move on you. So that was what was important to me. So I think you've done a very good job on them.
I appreciate that. And, so much of what we do in archery, to try to achieve the ultimate accuracy and the ultimate performance out of your bows, so much of it is in, theory or engineering theory or what it would do on paper. And when I say that, it's like, okay, if this is the best that you can do in theory, maybe we can't see the difference. Maybe that in of itself isn't something, but you do this and then you do this, and then we start doing all of these little things that we know are going to be, the absolute best scenario.
Right.
And all of a sudden, some of these things start to come together, and they are noticeable. And the other thing that comes with that is confidence. You go into battle with strings that are going to be, they're tried and true. You're not going to have issues and everything else. That gives you a sense of confidence that you can believe in what you're shooting.
Yep.
And I see people all the time, they go and they get in the heat of tournaments and they're having problems with their strings. So.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, like on a field range or whatever, you get people, you hear it all the time. Yeah, I started losing yardage or I lost, a yard and a half in my sight tape. Well, I mean, that's strings. That's for anywhere from 15 feet out to 80 yards. Like, if anything changes there a little bit, your whole sight scale changes. And if you don't catch up with it quick enough and start fudging your numbers, you're going to lose points. And in our game these days, I mean, you can't afford to lose points. So yeah, they've been super solid for me. And I think, now that they're getting out there, I know a lot of people are putting them on hunting bows. I was actually impressed with how many hunting bow orders when I walked through the shop today. I mean, that's awesome. I'm trying to spread the message that, about how important stable strings are in a bow, and hopefully that message is getting out there. But
really cool. Just a little bit on some of the technical stuff. You mentioned earlier. You talked about the layup and the process and the stability. That kind of comes down to our base, which is our total tensioning system. We call it TTS. And one of the things that we do with that is that we take a scientific and more methodical approach to strand stabilization, and we start that at the very, very beginning. So that comes right from the initial layup process, and making sure that the strands are 100% equal in tension, and that we're even taking out some of the human factor that goes into that as far as the layup goes. And that's that's pretty important, because that's the base of everything. That's where your stabilization starts. Yep. And then bringing that to our next process of the TTS. And then we also have we have a unique process that we use for the Freakshow strings. Specifically that we actually utilize some heat with the string, making sure that it doesn't get isolated and create any hot spots. But in doing that, we can do this because of the material that we're having. Because of the ultra low wax, we can do that. If it was a material that had the wax, we'd be dealing with some wax displacement in the string, stuff like that, and that would cause some issues. But because of this material, it allows us to do that extra step. So it's basically, I feel like you could take any string that we make and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be awesome. We do all of those things, and we do that added little bonus with these right here, and it's kind of like an extra added insurance policy.
Yeah, and I think the fact that you can get on the website and order, like these strings on average, I think you said you're building them at 28 strands, which that's super stable with this material. If you want to custom order different diameters for your center serving or end servings or whatever, there's certain little things you can do, and I know I get a lot of questions about it all the time. Can you beef up your cables to get a little more holding weight, or if you got too much holding weight, make them a little smaller. So there's different little things you can do there with your diameters that you guys are pretty keen on. Like, all the different model bows. I know it's hard to keep track of, but like all these different bows that are out there and the models and cam sizes and stuff. But after seeing like the database of bows and stuff you have in your system, you have pretty good knowledge of, well, if you increase this, bus cable, whatever, 5 thousandths over OEM, kind of what that's going to do, and if it'll even fit, in the cam track or whatever. There's a lot of things that kind of go into it. I mean, a string just looks like a simple string, but there's a whole lot of things that go into play, and all these different models out there. You have to really know what you're doing. So
sometimes that's a misconception, because we might be a little bit larger company that we're not quote unquote a custom string maker, but I mean we 100% are. I mean, that's a matter of just picking up the phone call and giving us a shout, and we can make that happen. We do that literally every day. That's something that's what you get with a custom string builder.
I like it.
One of the things you touched on was, you talked about the accountability and the string builders and everybody being accountable for their work, and the pride that everybody takes in that. And that's something here that's I couldn't be more proud of, because we have such a great group of people, and we have really it's an accountability culture. To produce the number of strings that we build and for everybody to be ultimately accountable for their production is really important for us. We have a build sheet that'll go through the production. So from the start to the first person lays it up to the next person does the finishing of it, and then the QC, everybody signs their initials. So, we know who's building them, and we know who's finishing them, we know who QCs them and everything else. And they put their initials down with pride. Same thing on every set of, Freakshow strings. We've got a quality check that goes on top of that right there. 62 1/4 check, 42 7/8 check. The center serving is at 112, checked on that, and then also checked by SS. So in this case, we know SS Stephen Skidmore. We know who checked it. That is also on the build form that goes with that. So the person that gets that set of strings, that gets filed. We go back, we can look at it, we know. So, everybody's accountable for the work they do. And like I said, and just, great folks here that work for us. We have string builders that have been, experienced for several years beyond just even their time here with GAS.
You said a lot of them have archery backgrounds already.
Correct.
So they know kind of what goes into what makes the whole system work together, and that helps too when they're, building strings. So.
And the other thing that does too is that, it creates the collaborative culture. Just like when, we decided to work together on this project, we're able to bring in all of the experience that you have, in string building and stuff, little things that you're sharing out there, and have you tried this, have you tried that? And we had numerous conversations about that. But, when these guys and gals are doing this all day, every day, they're going to come forward with ideas, and they're going to say, hey, what do you think about this, or what would this do? And that gives us an opportunity to do, okay, well, let's push the pause button, we'll go try this, we'll do some R&D, and we'll see where we go. So a lot of the things that we do today are ideas that have been brought forward from our team, and things that we've transitioned to. Constant improvement is something that we're committed to. I think we build an amazing string. 6 months from now, our string's going to be better than they were today. It's not just about, podium finishes and, people winning with our strings or whatever. It's also about, getting the feedback, feedback from people that understand. one of the things that I take a ton of pride in is working with someone like you, or several of the other people that we work with that build their own strings, or have built their own strings, for years and years. And they work with us, and it's one of those things when they say, hey, listen, you guys got it figured out, you got it going on. That's very, very meaningful for me, because that's somebody that knows. Yeah. And also, through those relationships, we can also capture, that knowledge. And I think that every time we add somebody to the team that has that sort of background and that knowledge, that just strengthens our team and what we can do, and our ability to improve.
For sure.
Jesse, I really appreciate you getting an opportunity to come in here and see what we got going on, and certainly wish you the best this weekend in London.
Yeah, thank you.
I know definitely some tricky courses over there.
They can be.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah. Thanks for having me. It was impressive to see what you got going on here and what you built in the 5 years that you've been doing it. So, yeah, I appreciate everything. Thanks for collaborating with me on these Freakshow strings. I couldn't be happier with them. Like I say, they're built better than any string that I've ever made. So that's definitely does a lot for my confidence. So thanks for having me, and hopefully I can maybe put together a win this weekend here in London. So we'll see what happens.
There you go.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Thank you.